After doing retrospectives on most PS2 Tony Hawk's games, I've decided to continue with the skateboarding genre by doing a series on the Skate franchise. In this video, I'll be doing a retrospective on the Nintendo Wii and DS exclusive Skate It, the game which may be viewed as inferior to other installments in the series, but it's one of the biggest surprises in gaming that I've experienced in a long time. My name's OneHip, and thanks for clicking on this video. Thanks to those who've watched all or any of my retrospectives, and for those who are new, welcome. Anyway, let's go. The Nintendo Wii, one of the highest selling consoles of all time, was released in 2006. For many households, the Wii was successful as a second console, with family-friendly titles appealing to a broader audience compared to competitors like the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. For others, the Wii had a much lower price point and made console gaming more accessible for those who couldn't afford the more expensive options. Console gaming itself was no longer a domain primarily for teens and young adults. With the Wii, your 5-year-old brother or 80-year-old grandmother could play console titles like Wii Sports, which utilised motion controls that were easy to understand for even the most casual of players. As such, many third-party studios decided to take advantage of this larger consumer market and release ports from the PS3 and 360, as well as standalone titles of their popular franchises onto the Wii. While some of these ports and standalone titles were terrible for different reasons, some of them were actually decent. And for Skate It thankfully falls into the decent category. The game was released on November 19, 2008 in the US, November 20th in Australia, November 21st in Europe, and February 12, 2009 in Japan, on the Nintendo Wii and DS. An iOS port was released worldwide on May 10, 2010. The Wii version was developed by EA Black Box, formerly known as Black Box Games, and EA Montreal, while the DS version was developed by Exient Entertainment. Both versions were published by EA. For my gameplay footage, I played the Wii version of the game via emulation on a program called Dolphin on my PC, and I used a Wiimote and nunchuck for my controls. Due to my physical condition, I was unable to play the game on a balance board, which is another option to play the game, but I didn't want to end up in the Hall of Meat trying to do this review.
Ow! That's gonna go in Thrasher's column.
Skate It is set between the events of Skate and Skate 2, in a San Vanalona which has been destroyed by multiple earthquakes and left abandoned. When booting the game up for the first time, you select a profile name and a logo, including brands and countries that are featured in the game, which I'll get to later. I felt that this was a very clever way for the game not to have NPCs and competitors you take on in competitions due to the Wii's lesser processing power. Skate It incorporates the flick it controls from its predecessor, but instead of using a joystick to perform tricks, you flick the Wiimote to perform certain ones, as well as buttons to do things like grabs and pushing the board. If you're using the nunchuck, you can use it to spin while performing flips or grabs, instead of rotating your Wiimote to do this if you use it on its own. To push the board, you press A, and you never push Mongo, as there's only one button to do this. To ollie, you flick the Wiimote backwards. To nollie, you flick it frontways. To manual, you gently tilt the Wiimote back. For nose manuals, you gently tilt forward. You perform flips in the same pattern that you would on a controller for other skate games, and you tilt the Wiimote on a 45-degree angle and then flick it up or down to perform an ollie or nollie flip, respectively. To brake, you press down on the Wiimote D-pad. You do grabs by holding the B button, and you can tweak grabs by slightly tilting the Wiimote on either side. 1-foot grabs are performed the same way, except you hold A while you perform a grab. Grinding is the same as any other skate game. You ollie onto a rail or similar and latch onto it. Flips and grinds with the Wiimote are sensational to perform, and with a bit of practice you can pull off some terrific sequences. Grabs, for me at least, were very hit and miss. I'd try to do spin grabs, but the nunchuck was so sensitive that I'd regularly perform flips when I didn't want to, and I would bail a lot of the time. I found that performing the grab first, then spinning helped alleviate this issue, but I'll put this down to a skill issue rather than a problem that the game has. While it might not be the prettiest game in terms of graphics in the series, when I first booted up the game, I was shocked at how responsive the controls were, and it was one of the more pleasant surprises I've had playing games in quite some time. For the camera, you can select the traditional low camera or a higher third-person perspective. You can achieve milestones for things like performing a certain amount of tricks or breaking a certain number of bones in the returning Hall of Meat. I found that the Hall of Meat animations were a touch too long, and there was no way to skip the results, which was a minor frustration, but not enough to put me off playing, of course. The game introduces My Spot zones, designated parts of each map where you can customize the position of assets like rails and kickers within the zone, so you can perform your own customized spots. You can edit your footage in the replay editor and save it to watch later. Many challenges from Skate return to Skate It, including film and photo challenges, which are divided into freeform with no timers or bails that end the run, called Anywhere challenges, as well as set sequences with timers and bails ending a run, called Line or Spot challenges. Like Hall of Meat, you can't skip the film sequences once you've completed them. Competitions return in certain levels as well. New challenges include time trials, which are death races but on your own with times to beat, and trick trials, which are the same, but performing tricks increases your time limit to complete the run. A funny thing I noticed in the game was that if you put your controls down for at least a few minutes, your cameraman Rita will converse with you about random stuff, which was a nice touch. I found this out after checking my phone for a bit while recording footage.
I don't really eat pickles. Although in Europe, I would buy some baguette bread. Like you stop at in Europe, when you stop at the gas stations and stuff, they usually got good food in there. So we get some bread, and we get like some sort of prosciutto or salami or something, and then you buy pickles, and you put the pickles in there. You just eat that right from the gas station. And then you eat it in the van, it's buttery.
The game is set in ruined parts of San Van from the first game, as well as for the first time in the series, real-world places. The maps aren't open world like other skate games, rather you select the level to go to in your in-game map and you fast travel there, which accommodates the Wii's processing power once again. The quick close-up of your skater when loading into a new map almost feels like a mini jump scare of sorts, and it seemed a bit unsettling when I first saw it. San Van levels include elementary school where you start your career, Matrix Plaza, Community Centre, Library, Spillway, Danny Way's Mega Park, DIY, and Slappies, which you unlock at the end of the story. Real-world locations include Paris, London, Barcelona, and Shanghai, and competition levels San Francisco and Rio. We definitely haven't seen Rio as a competition map in any other skateboarding game to this point. Cuz returns for commentary for the competitions, albeit with much less to say, which was a very welcome addition.
I got a marsupial that says you can do something different.
The levels themselves are generally not too bad to skate around in, and I didn't find any secret areas or anything like that. There were no prompts from Rita that suggested such a thing, so what you see on the maps is what you get. I really liked Barcelona and Shanghai with their unique styles, with Shanghai's emphasis on big air making it a ton of fun to do spots in. I appreciate that the developers threw in some other maps to make up for the lack of open world and other areas that Skate had. A series of earthquakes hit San Vanalona, and it's abandoned by its residents. It becomes a haven for skaters like your protagonist, who is not the skater you played in Skate. Rita the cameraman says he'll film you shredding the city. You customize your character and get going with filming. You complete the optional tutorials and achieve milestones as you perform tricks and sequences. For challenges, you can either own them if you reach the minimum requirements, or kill it if you exceed them. You get enough points at the starting area, elementary school, and head to the next location, Matrix Plaza. Rob Dydirk emails you, and Rita asks to check his house to make sure it wasn't damaged during the quakes. You're outside of his apartment and do a grind to impress him. Danny Way invites you to his mega park to check on it. For the first time in the series, you then travel outside of San Van and head to Paris after being invited by Danny for a Thrasher photo shoot. Lucas Pugh messages you after hearing that you're some real stuff and invites you to show him your skills. Danny messages you and reckons you can become Skater of the Year if you keep pulling off lines like you've done. Back at San Van, you shoot footage and get a board sponsor, and you're invited to Rio for the Rio Riot competition. You win the street and big air comps and head back to Matrix Plaza for another Thrasher shoot. You get offered a board sponsorship, and you're asked to be part of your sponsor's film at one of several world locations. For my playthrough, I picked Baker in London. You complete your board sponsors challenge and sign with them. You do more challenges around the world and sign up with a wheel and truck sponsor. I picked Momentum for the wheels and Independent for the trucks. You go to the Mega Park for your third Thrasher shoot, and you head overseas again for your final sponsor for shoes. I signed up with ice cream. You do another Thrasher shoot in San Van at the library by grinding the hubba. You get more coverage in San Van and head to San Francisco, which is quite meta considering San Van is partly inspired by this city. You participate in the Frisco Freakout and win the best trick and best run comps, and you get Nah for Thrasher by jumping over a truck in DIY for another photo shoot. You head to Shanghai, the final real-world map, and film some footage. Back at Sandvan, you complete your part for footage, and you're declared Thrasher's Skate of the Year at an awards ceremony. You complete a cover shoot for Thrasher to commemorate this achievement. Mongo Corp arrived to rebuild the destroyed Sandvan, which sets up the premise for Skate 2, which I did a video on already. I explained why the videos were swapped around in that one if you wanted to know. A fundraiser to rebuild Slappies is organised, and you take part in a big air photo shoot, and the credits roll. I like how this game is the bridge between Skate and Skate 2 in terms of story. As well as career mode, you can also free skate, watch replays of lines and tricks you've recorded, and do tutorials for the controls. You unlock items like decks and clothing among other things when you complete chapters in career mode, as well as sign up with sponsors. Customization options for your character are not as robust as other titles, but there are some pretty good options to deck out your protagonist. Party play mode returns, and you unlock different multiplayer games as you play through career mode. You can also unlock assets to use in My Spot zones, once again when playing through career mode. Unfortunately, you can't pick pro skaters to roll around with in free skate as far as I'm aware, but you can pick your skater and a few other random characters. For the Wii game soundtrack, there are some tracks that would end up in Skate 2, as well as some exclusive ones. Standouts include Rock the Bells by LL Cool J, Addictive by Cut Chemist, and Low Rider by War, the latter two also being in Skate 2. I noticed some stuttering in cutscenes, but I think it's more of an emulator issue than a game one, so I'll let it slide. NPC voiceovers sounded fine, and sounds like grinding and performing tricks all sounded okay. Skated is one of the most pleasant surprises that I've experienced in gaming for quite some time. The Wiimote controls are surprisingly responsive and easily translate over from the flick-it controls from the first game. While the graphics could have been better, the game is a very worthy addition to your collection and definitely worth a try. Skated could have been a very inferior cash grab by EA to make bank from a broader gaming market thanks to the Wii's popularity, but the game sticks to its roots and utilizes the processing power of the Wii in the best ways possible. The DS version is supposed to be pretty good too, from what I hear. You can buy Skate It secondhand for very cheap. I bought my copy on eBay with free postage for about $6.50 Australian. You can probably find it cheaper elsewhere. And now we're almost at the end of the Skate series. You know what video will drop next. If you made it to the end of this, thank you so much for watching. What do you think of Skate It? Do you agree or disagree with anything I said? What are your opinions on the game? Are you looking forward to the next Skate game being released later this year? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and be sure to watch my previous retrospectives if you haven't already. Be sure to like this video, share it with those who may enjoy this kind of content. Subscribe so you don't miss out on any gaming content on this channel. There are now memberships on this channel for a very low monthly price with some perks for those who join. And of course, there's no pressure to sign up. My name is OneHip, and you have a good one. Bye!